Should dandadan get banned, everyone? I really wouldn't say so because of a joke, but you know, the tourists, they really wanna get it banned. So you probably already heard what I'm talking about. I'm gonna address how this Irish, or maybe Finnish, whatever she is, streamer wants to ban animes like dandadan and so on, right? And she wants to ban a lot of animes, she wants to do the UN thing, and she hates Japan or whatever, so forth, right? But honestly, straight up here, I hope this video will give you something else than other people that have addressed this person, right? Because what I'm thinking about, since I saw it yesterday, is that how I miss the religious right. Like, seriously. Like, this person just makes me be like, oh my god. Like, I really, really dislike, right, woke tourists, how we call her. But I think that especially, I really, really dislike this team because we have a person, right? And I will explain later in the video what I mean here, I give you samples. But I showed you samples yesterday on Twitter, so what I whatever. And she's been producing like Sailor Moon AI, Rule 34 stuff. Her room is filled with like Naruto and all stuff in the background. And so who are you, right, to complain about like dandadan? Because you clearly do your own shades. If you're a, demisexual affair or something like that. I mean, it's just like, you were the last person that should tell people what is morally right or wrong, right? I think that's really, really bothered me so much. But first of all, I'm gonna explain just to see it in dandadan. Then we talk about this person, right? There's been some news on Twitter just a few hours ago that I saw her doing some math tweets, which is really funny. This is so funny, right? And I want to be that guy, but you know, I hate social media in so many ways, right? I say it ironically, doing video on YouTube, but I hate it so much because a person, they can't do like basic percentage in math. It's like a math like a 7-year-old can do, right? She's failing on that. Probably shouldn't be successful or famous on YouTube or Twitter or whatever, yeah. Unfortunately, but that's not the point. But anyway, let's first explain what happened down there. Because she completely lies, of course, what happens in the actual dandadan episode. I saw just yesterday, and my reaction below for it anyway. But anyway, so the first address then, right? What happens in the actual episode what she lied about is that in dandadan they're fighting these aliens and they're fighting ghosts, yokais, as called in Japanese, etc. Right? And in the last episode then, the two main characters and also the new main character, the third new main character, they get teleported to like a pocket dimension of their school, but everything is like water based, so the walls are based with water and so on, and they have to basically, you know, swim around in it. Imagine fighting in a beach or whatever, right? And that's what they're fighting in bikinis, basically, right? And of course, they have to fight this like Loch Ness dinosaur monster thing. Again, the anime has a lot of like monsters based on mythologies, right? And you know, like rumors and so on, right? Like the Bigfoot or whatever. So they fight this like Loch Ness alien monster, and when they beat that monster, they get teleported back to like reality in front of the whole school, right? So there's no like sexual stuff here at all. This person completely lied about dandadan 100%, right? Because she's claiming that in her video, I'll show you video soon, guys, but she's claiming that Ukar is mounting her and they're like doing it like a hentai in front of the school. No, not at all. They're fighting a monster, right? In bikini, basically, right? At the water, you know. And then when they beat the monster, again, they get teleported to school, right? Which of course makes them more embarrassed, because people are watching them like, why are they in the bikinis for? Like, yeah, why is the two girls in like in the underwear? What's happening? And then they run out of school, you know, crying and like, oh my god, no, they'll see me, you know, super embarrassing, right? And it's a funny comedic scene, right? Raunchy scene, but it's pure comedy. There's no sexual stuff in it whatsoever. And everything said about the scene is a complete lie, right? And it's very clearly, when you watch this person's video on YouTube and on Twitch, she hasn't actually seen the anime, right? She claims that it's like chapter 17, I believe she says, but it's 25, or episode 9 yesterday then. She doesn't even have the correct chapter, right? She doesn't even refer to the correct story point. So she clearly hasn't seen it, right? And it's a massive, massive tourism, or probably it's a fake, you know, whatever anime fan, where they just like scroll Reddit or 4chan to find an image that looks like controversial and make a video about it without actually having no idea about it, right? It must be a little bit of like when people were reacting to Demon Slayer episode 19, because it went so viral that people that were doing, you know, like, I don't know, makeup or clothing, and people that were doing completely old stuff on YouTube were suddenly reacting to episode 19 of Demon Slayer, but they hadn't seen episode 1 or up to 18 before, right? But it was just so viral. That was really reminds me of. So it's worse than a tourist, honestly. It's just fake. It's not even tourist level of anime fan or gaming fan. It's just faking it. Yeah, not even fan of, like, you know, it's not even like bare minimum. It's like, no, I'm jumped. I mean, this woman hasn't seen episode 1 to 8, she's only seen episode 9, you know what I mean? Only seen the controversial scene, completely fake, right? But anyway, she's lying about this stuff now. And it's a big oomph, right? People calling her out, or the YouTubers. At least some links below what people calling her out. But I want to address now something I haven't seen other people say, and that is that what I actually miss. I miss Jack Thompson, guys. So this here is Jack Thompson, right? He used to be the head of like trying to ban video games, especially of course on Grand Theft Auto and violent video games. Right? And this latest debacle then of this like YouTube furry streamer wanted to ban like dandadan and so on, right? Honestly makes me miss Jack Thompson, right? Because when I see this guy here, he's just a guy in a suit, he's a lawyer, he's a serious guy, he, of course, he's over-exaggerated stuff, right? But he's not lying, really. He should be a little factual, right? He should be like, this is the number, this is the thing, videos are bad. And today, instead, we have this, like, woke tourist that think that they are a cat or an anime character in real life or something, right? And I mean, seriously, I actually respect Jack Thompson to some extent, right, I kind of actually like it. He's, like, again, classic, like, conservative right, religious conservative right person. But honestly, that's why I make the video today, because I'm just like, my God, I'm actually missing the bad guys from the 90s, right? I'm missing, Al Gore's wife. So this here is, for example, Tipper Gore, right? She's the wife of Al Gore, and she was against rock music, right? She was in the court case with Snyder and her, and she wants to ban, like, music, basically, right? These are the people we used to have to debate, right? Like lawyers, freaking, like managers, CEOs, people that were like the wife of the vice president. They used to be against, violent video games and anime and like boobs, tits and ass, right? But these people were serious people. They were like serious grown-ups. Today, we are arguing against furry cat people that can't even do basic math. I will show this person here, show me later video. She can't do like basic math. She's just like 1% times 2 is 5 or something. Like, no, it isn't, okay? And I mean, seriously, okay? This is serious. This is so sad, seriously, because this here, right? I don't care what her name is. I'm very disappointed, though, in you guys, in reality, that she has so many subscribers. And I must say that was jealousy. I must say that I should have more subs or whatever. Or, I mean, she's some kind of crazy loon running around on Twit and showing her tatas, right? And chasing her haircut every episode. So I'm sure she gets views, right? But I mean that it is really sad, right? That person has any kind of fans. It's really sad because she clearly is faking it all. She isn't a real anime fan. Everything behind her doesn't make any sense, right? But all that being said, right? End of the day, what I realized yesterday, looking over this latest debacle, right, is that isn't it so sad that we went from, like, when I grew up then, and to the game industry, right? I was kind of young in the game industry during Gamergate, right? They had an industrial Christian, of course. But before that, we had Jack Thompson, right? So Jack Thompson was kind of my first, moral enemy, right? And before that, we had people, for example, then like Gore, trying to cancel music and so on, right? These people, again, were lawyers. They were serious people. Anita was probably the first real grifter. Because even if Jack was a grifter per se, at least he was like an educated person, right? Anita was like, I like video games, but I don't like blah, 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 you know what I mean? But still, at least Anita looked like a normal person, you know what I mean? At least Anita tried to be like a serious, like, I am a serious individual, you know what I mean? And it's just a big difference, right? Because it is so silly. And I think this whole thing here really exemplifies, honestly, I think, why, to some extent, honestly, why Trump won, honestly. But, like, yeah, like, why I think we as me and a lot of people, like, why we really hate this, like, woke tourism, right? Even more so than, like, the normal people against us. Because this really reminds me of, for example, my grandfather. He was an atheist. He was like an anarchist atheist. He was very anti-religious, almost, I can't read it. But his best friend, so, was a local archbishop. And they had a lot of meetings, discussions, right? I used to visit his church a lot, with the bishop had and so on. And my grandfather loved to have this, theory discussion, right? With his friend, the archbishop. And I think that I always had the same idea too, that it's much easier respecting a person that is actually religious, that actually believes, right, in their faith or whatever, than someone like that wishy-washy, like, oh, I kinda maybe believe in God or something, or maybe Christianity, but I don't really know, that I'd rather respect an atheist that is like, I don't believe in God, or a person that believes in God, but it's a middle thing, it's like, yeah, it's hard to respect that, people can't make up their mind, right? Because let's be real, right? Do you think this person here likes hentai? I will guess yes, okay. They're like a furry, demisexual, something else, right? Said myself, I don't know. But my point is that they're complaining about dandadan, right? Dandan has a, oh, an ecchi joke, oh, it's so wrong, should be banned, right? Yet, she's a huge fan of Naruto, given what's behind her and her own videos, right? And I'm telling you guys, this person here has probably went and read some hen stuff, right? With like Futa Tsunade effing Naruto in, you know, in the behind, right? 124, right? And I mean Tsunade like smashing Naruto hard from the rear, right? And Naruto, of course, not, you know, and I'm talking like not Shippuden Naruto, right? I'm not talking Hinata Naruto. I'm talking, you know, the older Naruto with, yeah. I bet ya she has seen this stuff more than once. Like, and I'm not even making a joke. I'm being serious, right? And this person here telling us that you can't have ecchi jokes in Dandan. You can't have ecchi jokes in Chainsaw Man because no, Denji is a pervert there, right? But she, of course, probably, you know, enjoys that stuff in Naruto, right? It doesn't make any sense, you know what I mean? That's why we have no respect for this person. It doesn't make any sense, right? And it's just a massive difference because, again, if you compare her, right, to like Tipper Gore, you think Tipper Gore has hand stuff in her room? No, she doesn't, right? Tipper Gore is a woman that hates music. She's like, rock music is bad for children, you know? She's like, I want to ban D&D, right? Tipper Gore is like, I want to ban rock music, D&D, and video games, and anime, right? And she's like, children should only have the Bible basically to live by. You know what I mean? But she at least lived by that. She lived by the idea that she then basically shouldn't have music and dance and gaming and should only be like really boring lifetime. And that's her, she's a really boring person, right? But she at least was a really boring person. Again, I think we're all pretty sure this woman here probably likes hand stuff herself, right? She herself is producing Rule 34 Sailor Moon stuff. Let me show you. She has used AI, right? AI model MORALS to produce a lot of Sailor Moon images, right? With herself in Sailor Moon outfits and other Sailor Moon characters, blah, 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 and so on, right? So she is clearly into like Sailor Moon, Rule 34 stuff, very, very clearly. And that is not, again, right, what like Tipper Gore did, Jack Thompson did, right? These people were actually like typical royal conservative, religious certain people, whatever, kind of nobles, whatever, in that kind of sense, you know, the kind of establishment, whatever you call it. But they were clearly like, you know, this is what we believe in. Right? We don't we believe in the Bible, or we believe in whatever religion they have, but like this usually Bible that in Western, you know, country, right? So they're like, this is the Bible. We don't believe in filth. Children shouldn't have music. Kids shouldn't have, you know, video games or anime. Anime should be banned because Japanese people are disgusting or whatever, blah, 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 so on. That's kind of what they believe in, Lisa. But at least they stand by that, you know. They stand by that. Sure, to some extent, of course, it's very common, either direction, left or right, top or down, whatever, right? That, of course, a lot of people lie, and they're gonna claim that, oh, I'm so against peace stuff or whatever, right? Then they themselves get arrested 10 years later for doing exactly what they were trying to, you know, stop or whatever, right? A lot of people, of course, are very against something, trying to ban it or whatever, usually because of some kind of redemption, right? They're like obsessed with it. Oh, but if I ban this thing, even if I do it, right, then I can get some kind of, you know, I don't know, karma points or whatever, or some kind of self gratification or whatever. Different reasons why, but again, point. Certainly a lot of people lie about it. Certainly a lot of politicians that are against certain like violent video games or animes or whatever, right? Or movies and so on. Certainly they might actually really love it in secret or whatever. Certainly. But while those people exist, right, that lie about it, vast majority of the classic, again, the like the religious conservative people in America, right? But also generally conservative people, so to speak. The classic, though, conservative people, while again maybe like 10% of them lie or whatever, but the other 90% actually do believe in, right? And they would never produce this stuff, you know what I mean? They would not sit there and be like, oh, I want to ban all animes because anime is naughty, but at the same time I'm producing like Sailor Moon hen stuff, you know? It's like, like what? Yeah, they wouldn't do that, right? And that's about this person here, and I hope this video brings you some more clarity to it, right? Because I've seen people really complain about this person, obviously, but I think that I hope I have some other input to you guys here, because this, I think, is actually the key value why this person is so incredibly annoying, right, to watch. Because we see what you have behind you, right? We see that you have Naruto and Chainsaw Man and Sailor Moon stuff behind you. Like, we see that you have that behind you, right? We know that you produce Sailor Moon hen stuff, you know? We have all this evidence, right? So we know it's all bullshit, right? Because it's kind of like if I sat here, right, and said that, oh, well, I wanted to ban all those ecchi animes, and then behind me you see Marin-chan, right? And you're like, well, how can you say that? You have you have C8 18, freaking hottest character in Dragon Ball. For of you, how can you want to ban dandadan? You have Maki, coolest girl in freaking, you know, like, yeah, like, it doesn't make any sense, right? It's just so stupid, right? If I have my, you know, aqua waifu pillow here, right? You know, I mean, like, it wouldn't make any sense, right? It would be so ridiculous. Like, it would be so ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, but here behind me, here's my self-made arcade lever elastic, right? I made it all myself. So you can see here, I have, you know, you reach on it, I have teeth on it, I got Poison, I got A2, I got Kane, right? Got Kami, you reach in the middle here, of course, right? You know what I mean? Stuff like that, right? So if I sat here, and I also have, of course, made several games with hot characters or whatnot, right? So if I sat here and said that, oh, I want to ban all video games that has like hot female characters, people like, but you have made like 10 games with hot female characters, you know, and you make your own female hot character design and so on your gaming stuff. It's like, yeah, but I want to ban them anyway. Like, I mean, it wouldn't make any sense, right? It would sound incredibly double standards, like for you but not for me kind of thing. Yeah, only for me, not for you. It doesn't make any sense, right? I think that's why this person is so annoying, because this is just like so incredibly dishonest, right, from reality. Where again, then if we go back to like Jack Thompson, I mean, I used to hate Jack Thompson, right? And I still do, of course, for a lot of ways, right? Because he tried to ruin the game industry, and he was super dishonest about it in a lot of ways, and he did fake stuff, but he kind of, you know, so he twisted the researchers, right? So they had this APA, a very famous court case with APA. APA is American Psychological Association, very famous case with them. And he was like trying to kind of like twist that, you know, like mistruth it. Oh, well, they actually said this thing, but actually meant these things and what. So basically, APA basically confirmed that violent video games doesn't make you more violent, right? Like if you play violent video games, you won't go out to become a criminal yourself. They proved that, and he and all the people were like, oh, but they kind of missed this thing and that thing, right? And of course, they had some person that actually did become more violent, and then he, oh, it proves me right or whatever, right? So, for example, one thing OPA actually did show, as a segment here, is that if you were already violent, and especially if you were, some people have this thing where they can't understand the difference between reality and fiction, like straight up, they can't understand that a video game is not a reality, like straight up. And if you watch a TV show, they think the TV show is reality, right? Some people in real life are like that. They're very, very few, like 1 in a million, but they do exist. If they played Grand Theft Auto, they actually did get more violent, right? But here's the kicker, though: those people also get more violent if they play any game, basically, with any kind of violence, right? Fighting, whatever, fighting and so on. But also, they get more violent if they watch movies, right? So the only people is that they get more violent by the violent video games also get more violent by violent movies, etc. So then his argument is that you have to ban violent games, right? Because it might trigger someone to get more violent. But then you also have to ban like movies and so on, you know, because the same people will be affected by both of them. Why wouldn't they, right? And again, these people are like 1 in a million, right? Extremely few, like extremely few. So that 1% is like 1 ppm. So incredibly few people can't distinguish between reality and fiction, but they do actually exist. They do exist, and they are dangerous to some extent, certainly. But those people basically always get arrested, right? Because again, they can't distinguish anything at all between reality and fiction. So they go crazy and they do a bunch of different stuff usually. Again, not related to video games, right? But books or whatever, right? So yeah, like you have to ban everything with it, and we can't just ban video games because it's like 1 person in a million goes crazy from it. Like, and again, like I said, we have to ban also the movies and so forth. So it'd be like we have to ban everything because 1 in a million gets crazy. But basically, I just hate this guy, right? But honestly, now, sitting here 20 years later, I'm just like, you know what? I kind of like Jack Thompson now. At least he was like a serious lawyer. At least he didn't post like Sailor Moon hentai or whatever, right? At least he was like, I am against violent video games and anime, and I'm against rock music, and I'm against D&D, and he was like, and I'm a Bible dude or whatever. He was like a pure guy, right? This is what I believe in and so on, you know what I mean? And at least he lived by what he believed in, right? And that's my point of the video here, guys. I don't know, but I was getting so pissed off at it. I'm watching this thing unfold, right? This like crazy Irish girl complaining about, oh, Japan is unsafe for women, and anime is evil, and we should ban all anime with like chibi cats, whatever, blah blah blah, so on. And I'm just like, but you yourself have claimed to enjoy bunch of those animes, right? Maybe it's a complete bait, but I don't think so. So I want to get a little bit more on this person, though. Show you them. Lastly, but address a little bit of her as a person and what is also bullshitty. It's ignoring the whole silly mood hand stuff and so on as well, right? But first of all, I think from a historical aspect here, this person is kind of interesting because what happened, and I'm guessing of course here, what happened is that this person probably, right, grew up with Pokemon and Naruto and so on, you know, when they were younger, right? She's 29, I believe. So when she was like, 12 or 14 or whatever, right? She fell in love with like Naruto and she was all the Naruto books behind her. She was like, oh my god, sexual jutsu is adorable. So like sexual type, whatever, it's so cute. She loved it, right? And then she probably went to college, right? And she went to some kind of gender studies, some other woke shit, right? At college, straight up, yeah, probably, right? And when it happened, she went crazy. And I mean it seriously. I mean it sincerely. I met a lot of people like her in reality, especially at work, right? Since I worked in the game industry, I met a lot of woke lefty women, right? Tends to be lesbians and so on. Yeah, and also have all the hair colors, but they're very common. And this is actually a very common personality trait. So you have the people, right, that when they were teenagers or younger, they loved anime and manga and Japanese gaming, and there was no problem. They loved it, super funny. They loved the ecchi jokes in Naruto and One Piece, and but now it's like, pay me money, you see my tata. They're like, oh, it's great, you know. And now she's like 30, right? And the thing is that when she was in her 20s, she got turned into an activist, you know what I mean? She was interested in woke stuff, maybe, Palestine, Israel, who knows? But she got interested in something that made her, become super lefty, right? Probably again in college, right? So until she entered college, she was like, I love anime and manga and so on, right? But now, after college, she's like, I hate Japan, I hate anime and manga, I hate video games, these are all terrible, these are against women, blah, 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 and so forth, right? Like, seriously, it's probably her life backstory. And it's kind of funny then, because she has all the mangas of Naruto in the background and so on, right? Which makes her a complete hypocrite, right? Because if she's gonna ban dandan, she has to also ban Naruto, because Naruto is way more sexualized than dandan, 100%. She has to ban it as well, right? But because she grew up with Naruto, and she liked Naruto before she was an activist, right? She liked Naruto before she was a woke tourist, right? So now she's like, oh, Naruto is fine, but dandan and Chainsaw Man, whatever is released, after she turned activists are bad, right? So it's very, very clear. It's kind of comedically sad, right? Because everything behind her is very obviously like in that past, right? Like before she turned into a crazy woke person, right? And now she's living in like the present moment, and she hates everything from Japan. Like, xenophobic or something. She hates everything in Japan. And I've seen it in so many people in my life, straight up. It's a very, very common issue. That's probably her backstory, and I'm very, very likely right in that. I've seen it like 100 times before in my life, with friends, family, whatever, right? It's super common, and of course my workplace. Very, very common. Now lastly, let's laugh at her incredibly bad math, right? So first of all, she's, fighting here that, oh no, I'm not a racist, and I'm not lying about Japan, she clearly lied about Japan and so on. But anyway, now she's trying to argue, right? Because people are of course telling her that, well, you are lying that it's unsafe being a woman in Japan, right? Now, I'm not claiming here that it's completely 100% safe anywhere. Obviously, no country is perfect. There are criminals, there are artists, and, so forth, right, in every country. I'm not saying that, Japan is perfect. But anyone with basic mathematical sense, right, would know that Ireland, she's from Ireland, I lived there for 3 years, so I also know Ireland. I've been in Ireland a lot myself, yeah. A lot of friends there, and so on. Ireland is way more unsafe than Japan, okay? And I'm not saying that Ireland is like the craziest country in the world, I'll never go there. It's a nice place. I lived in Dublin for 3 years, so that's why I know the most. But, Temple Bar is all fine and so on, right? And I lived in both Dublin 1 and Dublin like 4 and 16 and so on. So I lived around in Dublin. In Dublin, you count the numbers. So 1 is north from the center, and 2 is south center. So like 15 is like the really far out to the north. 1 is at the left way there, which is the river of Dublin. So I know my Ireland, so to speak. At least I know my Dublin is. And obviously, Dublin, to anyone that's lived in reality, is way more dangerous than Tokyo. Like, I am way more, yeah. And that's why her math here is so bad. Because now she's like, well, 100,000. But my point is, first of all, right, again, Tokyo is way safer than Dublin. For a woman, for a man, there are way less, sexual assaults, murders, all right, in Tokyo per person than in Dublin, right? Because Japan, as a country, as a culture rather, right, is very, very safe, you know. Japanese culture is super safe, right? Because Japanese people in general are very ordersome, right? So Japanese people, similar to Swedes and Norwegians and so on, are very, very ordersome. They're very like stand in line, queue up, right? And so on, right? Very famously is Japan incredible safe. So she's claiming, right, that, oh, there's so much R stuff and S stuff and so on in Japan, right? And first of all, she's claiming that, which is not true. It's more Ireland per person, definitely. And like France or whatever, definitely. 100%. You look at the stats, right? Secondly, she's claiming it's because of like manga and anime, which makes no sense, right? That the whole correlation and causation. There is no evidence whatsoever that because you have ecchi manga and anime, that means that more Japanese men are out there hunting ladies or whatever. There's no evidence for that whatsoever. If anything, the evidence would point to the contrary again, because in Japan, right, there are way less crime per person, so actually that manga and anime will make people less into it. And the same thing goes with gun and, you know, video game violence, right? So people like, for example, Jack Thompson like to claim, right, that if you play a lot of video games, violent video games, you get more, you know, violent, right? But then America, USA, has a lot more violent crimes than Japan, even though people actually play video games, violent video games, more in Japan than in America. Yet, of course, Japan has extremely low violence, right? So there is no question there whatsoever. If anything, it's the opposite, right? So it doesn't make any sense to claim it. However, she makes it even worse here. This is her tweet just a few hours ago. I made a video now. I tweeted about for like 2 hours. I think it's hilarious. It's like, also the population of Ireland is, Japan has 124 million people. The rate per 100 is going to be much higher. That's how math works. Let's say basic maths. It's like basic maths. It's like, that's not how math works. It's just, this is what I hate this so much, honestly. This I hate this so much too. And I want to end the video here, guys, because I hate this so much, right? Because like, this is not something that Jack Thompson would do. Not even Anita Sarkeesian would do this mistake, right? Because Jack Thompson, again, like, you know, Gore and so on, they're actual lawyers. They're actual, you know, master degrees, maybe even PhD and stuff, you know. But this is like, this is not math, okay? So my comment to that, and it is before I made the video, my comment, guys, is like, ha, 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 ha. And then I write longer comments, of course, explaining what's wrong. But I say again, right, this is not how math works, right? Basically, what she's saying here is that, well, Ireland is much smaller than Japan, so obviously the math will be higher. No, okay? What people have been telling her, right, is what I said, right? That Japan is safer than Ireland per person, right? Tokyo is much safer than Dublin per person. Like I said, I have lived in Dublin for about 3 years, right? I lived in Dublin, I lived in Stockholm, Gothenburg, a little bit Oslo, you know, a little bit Tokyo, a little bit like in Brussels. I've been around the block, you know, and I travel work a lot. So I've been in last I was in London last month for 2 weeks. I mean, I've been in a lot of capitals, okay? I've been in a lot of capitals, okay? And Tokyo is basically the safest capital city that I've been in my life, and it still is, right? Tokyo is incredibly safe. And when we look at the mathematics, right? So when we look at the mathematics, of course we have to look at it, it's like, you know, what is the murder rate, or, you know, the R rate or whatever, right, per person, right, per 100,000 person, right, you know. So she can't even do basic math here, and this is stupid, right? Because what she should be saying here is that, no, Japan should have higher, like, total murder rate, like, not rate, but numbers, right, you know. If Japan, which is, you know, like 25 times bigger than Ireland, right, you know, in total numbers, if they have more murders in total, that would make sense, right? So let's say that Ireland has 10 murders, and if Japan and Ireland had the same, you know, rates of murders, right, then of course Japan would have roughly 25 times the, you know, murder, right? So like 25 times 10, right? If they had roughly the same percentage of murder per person, right? But of course, what is interesting here, when you want to compare, like, you know, murder statistic or R-ring or whatever, or the assaults, right, is of course, again, the percentage, right? You want to talk about, well, how many people in Tokyo or Japan and in general gets murdered, right, of the 124 million people, compared, of course, to the 5.2 million people, right? That's interesting, right? And here, of course, Japan is way lower than Ireland, like way lower, because Japan is way safer than Ireland. And I lived in Boca, I mean, it's way safer, okay? And it's just how it is, because again, Japanese culture is very ordersome, very safe, much, you know, way less crazy crime. Ireland has way more like the freaking knacker math walking around and so on. No, and I mean, I like Ireland. Look at me wrong, I like Ireland. Like, and also, Ireland isn't the worst place in Europe at all. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Ireland compared to Japan is not as safe, right? And that we can see, of course, by 100,000 per person, right? So hers like, but she's claiming that Ireland is supposed to have higher because basically, no, it isn't. Japan is supposed to have higher, basically, math, right? Or at least in total number, Japan is supposed to have higher number. She's claiming that because Ireland is smaller, they're gonna have higher murder or higher crime rate or whatever per person. Not at all. And if anything, honestly, this is a little bit depending on the city or on the country, more contextual based. But if anything, right, a smaller country usually have less crime per person actually, also ratio-wise, because look at something like Iceland, okay? It's a very tiny country. Reykjavik is only, it's like 400 people. Yeah, it's super tiny, right? Which means that everyone knows everyone, you know what I mean? So if you compare like the murder rate, right, of like a really small village in Japan compared to Tokyo, the murder rate is probably lower in that village, even though the percentage-wise, of course, one murder per year would be like way higher than Tokyo has, because Tokyo has more people. Because a very small like rural village, basically again, everyone knows everyone, right? So the crime rate usually is very, very low, right? Especially the murder rate is very, very low in very small places. So a country like Ireland, Dublin is a big city. And about 2 point something urbanized Dublin lives there. But outside of Dublin, most of Ireland is very, very rural. Very, very rural. Much more than Japan. So I would argue for it's even the opposite. Because Ireland is such a rural country compared to Japan, then has several big urban cities, you probably would have more murder rate per person in Japan because of the pollution rate. Generally speaking, of course, the urban cities brings more crime rate per person, so forth, right? So urban city Japan with a lot of, again, like you have Tokyo, Yokohama, you have Kobe, Osaka, etc., should increase crime rate, generally speaking. But because, again, Japanese culture is so incredibly anti-crime, it doesn't really do that. So it's just like, no, like she's wrong on both mathematics, but also wrong on, of course, just basic like socioeconomical systems, or like just how generally how the world works with humanity. Like kind of like this is not how humans actually behave at all. And again, that's what is pushing people so much. This is a woke tourist, right? There's going to be another video in the future talking about woke tourism. But she's a woke tourist pretending she likes manga and anime. She wants to ban manga and anime with an incredible amount of lies and, known facts, right? And then she's sitting here now. She can't do basic math. And I'm just like, I miss Jack Thompson, guys. I miss the religious right guys, the lawyers, the DAs, whatever. Like this, again, the doctors. Because these people were like, well, this guy is wrong. He's dead wrong on his behavior, but I respect him. He can do math, he can do science. Jack Thompson would never post this. He would do math. He's like an actual a person been in court or so. Yeah, there was some court cases, right, before they turned into anti-gamer guy. He actually would do like basic like research and be like, no, this is actually how the math is, whatever. But this person just like spits out like random numbers that has like no value to reality. And I miss being like, God, I miss the people. I miss the religious right. I miss them. I miss them so much. I miss the 90s when I had to debate someone like, and they were like, oh yeah, you want to play your rock music in your video games? I'm like, yeah, I want to play a video game because it's my First Amendment right, Let's go, And I had an actual debate with them. And you have that real grown-up debate with them, right? About like, First Amendment, like, could I write whatever I want in lyrics and so forth. But now it's just like, this person here is a hentai themselves, and they hate hentai for some reason, but they're hentai, and they can't even do like 1+1 basically. And you're like, what is this thing? And also, it does bother me. How is the person famous for? Is he famous? Is stupid? I don't get it. Like, it's just like, who wants to watch this thing? It's just insane. Like, it's so stupid. So you can't even do like basic statistics. It's not that stupid at all. But anyway, I haven't even dig deep into this thing, right? Because I don't even bother that. Because I'm sure that. This is, every time you find these people, it's always a gift that keeps giving, right? I'm sure that if I actually went over all her tweets, I'd probably find 100 more tweets like this, in the ironically dumb tweets. Yeah, which is like, oh my God, it's stupid. She keeps digging her own grave, right? She tweeted this like just an hour ago. Yeah, just before I started making the video. I was like, my God, it's even dumber than she did yesterday. You know what I mean? This kind of people, they just can't help themselves. They just keep writing really dumb shit all the time. you're like, but this is not how math works. And I almost have a broken record now, but I just think I just emphasize how dumb it is. Yeah, just take a step back and actually just do like very basic science. Like, that's not how it works. Like, but no, they don't do that, right? And I guess what I point out here is that you should subscribe, guys, press the like button and so on. But seriously though, another topic I want to discuss, which will come later, maybe next week, so I want to think about it more, is what I call woke tourism, right? And we have, of course, we all know what woke is. We know what tourism is, like a gamer tourist and so on. But I think that this whole tourist thing and gatekeeping has become an obvious thing now. And I think this person here kind of expels what I would call a woke tourist, right? Where they are, because they're not even like woke either. I mean, certainly she's very, very woke, but at the same time, she's producing her own hentai, right, with Sailor Moon. So I'm just like, is she woke up for reals? She basically is a tourist in every direction. She's a fake gamer, she's a fake anime fan, but she's also fake woke. So what I mean, that's what I would call woke tourist. I don't know. I'm working on a bit for another video, but it feels like she's nothing. She's nothing. Everything is fake. Anyway, so you guys can have a great day. And also, watch Dandadan. It's a great anime. Yeah, I love the episode. I laughed so much. That scene was great. It was like the funniest scene this year. That was one of the funniest scenes this year, when they teleported into school from that one. Super funny. That's how an actual anime fan reacts to it. You laugh at it. But anyway, so you guys have a great day.